The 8 o'clock movie will not be seen tonight, so that we may bring you a special presentation of Rape. This program contains explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised. Tonight's special program is being brought to you in part by True Value as a public service.
The following is an emotionally charged special program on rape. Therefore, we must caution you that due to the subject matter, there will be sexually explicit and profane language.
My name is Jim, and I'm a convicted rapist. During the 6 months prior to when I was arrested, I committed 10 rapes and 3 attempted rapes. The ages of my victims were from 13 years old to 33.
You didn't do 3, but you did do 10. And there was not one of those women who said no? That's bullshit.
And now, Miss Donna Mills.
There is a forcible rape reported in this country every 7 minutes. Since experts tell us that only 10% of all rapes are reported, the actual number of rape attacks is staggering. And yet rape is one of the least understood of all crimes. Where and when do these attacks occur, and to whom? Who is the attacker? What does he look like? Where does he come from? And how can we detour his attacks? The program you're about to see was produced with the intent of answering as many of these questions as possible. You are about to meet 10 women who have been raped, and 10 convicted rapists who are now serving prison terms for their crimes. Together, they create one of the most powerful confrontations ever seen on television. The women have consented to partake in 2 therapy sessions, which are an ongoing portion of a correction program currently being conducted at the Oregon State Hospital in Salem, Oregon. The goal of the program is to contribute to the rehabilitation of the rapist. For the women, it represents an opportunity to vent their anger and to confront the inmates. The benefits of these confrontations has had far-reaching positive effects, which our in-studio guests will discuss later in the program. Each session we recorded was equally divided with 5 women, 5 men, and 2 therapists. The women received no compensation, and the inmates received neither compensation, special favors, or reduced sentences. There are no scripts, no rehearsals, no planned performances for the cameras, only real people reacting honestly to an emotional confrontation. So as a result, strong language and graphic description are used throughout the session. These inmates are not the attackers of the women appearing in the sessions. Openly discussing rape is a first step in understanding it. But one thing we already know: rape can happen anywhere, to anyone, at any time.
This rape victim was jogging in daylight on a heavily traveled path that wound through a complex of 2,000 apartments, when suddenly she was attacked from behind and wrestled to the ground. Her assailant beat her around the face and upper body. Her screams for help brought no answer, and her attacker forced her into sexual acts she never thought possible. This victim had just parked her car in a lot near her night school. It was dusk, and as she opened the car door, her assailant pushed her across the front seat and began beating her. She managed to break loose from his grasp, throwing herself clear of the car. Screaming hysterically, she tried to run, but he tackled her and dragged her back into the car, where he raped her. A school janitor kept this woman silent for several years by telling her he would kill members of her family if she should ever tell of his attack. It was 3 in the morning when this victim awoke from a sound sleep to find a knife at her throat. She recognized her assailant as a neighbor. He threatened her life and proceeded to tell her how he was going to kill her unless she submitted to his demands. This young lady was on a first date when she found herself the victim of a rapist. He forced her to a gymnasium where he held her hostage for over 3 hours, beating and raping her.
I was dead. I was dead. For that period of time, I was gone from this earth. Dead. Like I did not exist during that period. You understand? Can y'all understand? Try to. grasp that feeling of death.
Did you have any idea, or after you were finished, did you have any inclination of what you'd done to that person, or was it just almost a non-person?
She was a non-person before I did it, more so than afterwards.
What does your family think? I mean, if I came home and my mom said my brother was in jail for rape, you know, I'd disown him.
My brother said I should be hung.
2 fish hooks wouldn't be too bad.
He just said I should be hung.
I don't know what I can do for you to take away the pain and the hurt you feel.
You know what you sound like to me right now? A sketch with John Belushi on Saturday Night Live. I don't believe a thing you're saying. I can't help it.
Okay. I felt this fucking overwhelming rage inside of me to destroy, to hurt fucking people, to hurt people. Not things, not places, but people. And I feel that now. She was just the victim. She was just there, okay? She was the one. It didn't matter at that time who it was, how old she was, male or female. That was going to be the one. It was just the circumstances around it, okay? Because I don't know why I wanted to do it. I did it. I grabbed her and I started telling her that I was going to have sex with her, or screw her. I was going to fuck her. And I grabbed her. And I told her to take her fucking clothes off because I wanted it, and what I was going to do was going to hurt her because I felt hurt all my fucking life, and I'm going to take it out on somebody else.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Why didn't you just beat the shit out of her? Why'd you have to rape her?
I don't know that.
I think it turns you on.
Or you don't want to believe me? No, I just acknowledge it. If she wants to think that, she can think that. I don't give a fuck. It's her right.
That's right. Don't give a fuck. You never do.
Don't give a fuck.
See, what people are trying to say is that I don't give a fuck attitude that you just said, that's what's going to keep you raping. Can you dig it?
Because there's a whole lot of little women out there. A guy 90 pounds could beat my ass. And I'm tough, and I'm strong, and I'm mean, and I'm angry, but he could still kill me with one blow to my face, to anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? You know the fear that we walk around with just being women, walking around with tits and a pussy? You know what that's like? Fear always. Because we are vulnerable to the physical power of you men. And there's a million of them out there. And they hate women. You all hate women. That's it, right?
No, that's not true.
No.
But you did when you had to hate them. How could you destroy a woman if you didn't hate her guts?
Are we people to you guys? I mean, can you look here and feel that they're people, or are we objects like your victims?
Are they people?
Yes. They are, but at the time they weren't.
Mike,
And I didn't
He's
see
getting real
them as
mad.
people.
What did you see?
As an object, as something to strike out to, as something to take my anger and frustration out.
What anger and frustration?
The anger that I never expressed all my life. Not telling no one how I felt inside, and it was my chance to get that out.
How many people did you do this to?
I've raped 3 women, and I've assaulted 12, and probably manipulated about 22 into having sex with.
And how old are you?
30.
And when did that start?
8 years old.
Okay. Why didn't you do something about it?
Because I didn't know how. When I start thinking these patterns, I would build them in, and I would be feared. I wouldn't go out at night because I was afraid that someone was going to hurt me. All of my crimes were in the daytime because I felt safer. Because I knew that I could become in control, because I made that choice to control them people. And when I wasn't thinking these patterns, I was dealing with people, I was talking to people, but I wouldn't talk about, hey, I have this problem. I want to rape this woman. I want to hurt this young girl. I wouldn't talk about that stuff because I felt that people wouldn't understand that inside I really hated.
Right now, what do you feel about us?
I feel hurt.
No, you are angry.
Hurt from us? Yeah. What do you feel right
You're
now?
angry. Why don't you tell us?
Well, give me time, damn it! I feel hurt. I feel angry. I feel like I'm just burning up, tearing up inside, because I can sit here and look at your face and understand that I have hurt people. And before, when I was doing my crime, I wouldn't look at her face because I didn't want to see that hurt that was there, because I didn't want to recognize it. And I can sit here, and when you talk, I can see it, and I can hear it, and I can feel it. And when I come in here, I couldn't do that.
Well, buddy, I hope when you get back out there, if you ever think of doing it again, you get one of these faces in your mind, and you don't do it.
I don't trust any of you. Even though you'll sit there and you'll tell me that you're never going to do it again, if I saw you on the street, if I saw you in a party, if I happened to be your wife's friend, I'd totally lose control.
It scares our friends, other men, and our families, and it causes grief within us because they're so afraid of, you're the boogeyman. You know, when you grow up and if you do things bad, the boogeyman's going to get you. You walk down a dark street and how they terrify little kids. Well, you're the boogeyman personified. You became real to us. And so all the things that were hung over our head fell. Tell me about the woman that you raped. What happened with that?
Well, I met her in a tavern, and we went out into the car that I was in, and we drove out in the country, and...
Did she go with you voluntarily?
Yes, she did. I didn't even know her.
You were married at the time?
Pardon?
You were married at the time?
No.
This before you got married?
Yes. And we went out in the country, and we continued to smoke some pot, and the things came up in me, that sexual urge came up in me, and we started making out and stuff, and she became afraid and tried to push me away, and it was just like it was this overpowering urge in me to not even take into account for her feelings at all.
Were you getting rough with her at the time, that she started backing off?
I would kind of push my hand away from her and tell her, you know, that it was all right, you know, we were just going to have a good time and then go back into town and stuff like that.
You were such a horny little devil, right?
Yeah.
The sexual urge.
Everybody has a sexual urge.
Were you getting rough with her at the time that backed her off, that made her scared?
Yes, I was.
How? Tell me what you did.
By the way I was acting towards her, by the way...
How were you acting? What were you doing? Tell me what you were doing.
She was like a pounding board to where I could take my aggression out on her.
You mean if you didn't want anything from her, you wanted it all for you?
Right. I wanted it all for myself.
I'm going to ask you a question. Did you need love from human beings? Did you need love and kindness and giving from other people? Didn't you need that very much? Then why didn't you reach out for that? Why did you reach out to hurt them and look at them as an ashtray or a thing?
What about someone else? Jim, you've been in the woodwork back there.
I raped women.
How?
By force.
That doesn't tell anybody anything.
What force? What did you do?
It's a word.
I threatened them with a weapon.
Didn't they scream? I mean, I screamed bloody murder, and the man beat my face to... You couldn't even recognize him.
2 of them did.
And you beat him?
No.
Can you look at the women when you talk, Jim? You can't do that, can you?
Yes, I can.
You knew you were hurting them. I mean, what's the most humiliating thing that you can do to somebody?
Rape.
That's right.
Don't you know
You were dominating them.
Haven't you made love to a woman where it's wonderful and nice ever? You have, so you know the difference then. There is a difference. There's a big difference, Jim, in what you did to those women and when you really made love to a woman, right?
Yes.
So tell us about the difference. It wasn't sex to you, was it?
The motivator was sex.
Then why didn't you just have sex?
What if she said no? Was that going to be okay?
Yes.
Oh, if one of your victims said, excuse me, I'd rather not do this tonight, you'd say, oh, okay, fine, and leave?
Bullshit if you say...
I did.
Out of 10 women, none of them asked you not to do it?
And you believe that all 10 of those women wanted to be raped? Did you really believe that?
No.
Then why did you do it? You just said if they said no, you wouldn't have done it.
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Yes, you gotta know. I have to know everything, so you do too. I don't want to look at it either, buddy. I don't want to look at it, but I have to. I got to get my life straight too, you know. And I don't have a place like this to do it in. I got to be out there with all the fucking rapists around me, and I don't know who they are, and I got to live. And I got to be strong and independent and run my life and make a living and love and care. I do, so you do too.
What do you know about your crime? Tell us.
What I know about my crime is that it was motivated by sex. It was motivated by...
So you were motivated by whatever.
I was
had an
motivated
interest
by
in sex, but it still had a strong elements. Strong
element of control, strong element of power, and also a strong element of hate towards women and revenge towards women.
Don't you think those are a little bit higher on the list than the first two?
Yes.
hate for women.
Do you ever have trouble getting a hard-on when you're with your victims?
No.
You always were ready and anxious, and it was always very satisfying?
No, I was ready, but it wasn't satisfying.
Why not?
It had to be satisfying to some extent because you did it 10 times. You don't do something once, twice, 3, 4, this many times and not have it satisfying. How did you maintain everyday life?
I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I did that.
Bullshit, I think you do know. You have to know.
Because you did it.
Tell us the story. Once upon a time, Jim had a job and he saw a woman at work or in the supermarket. Where does the story begin?
I would go to a plant that had a swing shift that employed mostly female employees, and I would wait in the parking lot until I saw one get into a car by herself. And
After you got off work or what?
Yes. And I'd wait in the parking lot until I saw her, one that got into a car by herself, and I would follow her home. And if she lived in an apartment complex that was close, the apartments were close, I would go home. I would not do anything. And if she lived with her boyfriend or husband or another girl, I wouldn't do anything. But 1% or 2% lived alone in a house that was by itself. And those were my victims.
How could she have protected herself from you? How can I? If I see you in my home 4 years from now, I want to know right now what I could have done to protect myself from you.
Physically resisted me and verbally resisted me.
With a knife to my throat?
And a knife.
You're going to tell me to resist?
Yes.
You're crazy, would you? If a son of a bitch had a knife to your throat, would you try to fight it off? Knowing that son of a bitch was going to go right through and cut your neck off?
You're lying anyway because you said that they did tell you no and you did it anyway. There are not one woman in those 10 women. All right, you didn't do 3, but you did do 10. And there was not one of those women who said no? That's bullshit.
They said, please don't hurt me.
Oh, please don't hurt me. And
what does that mean? What do you think that meant to you? I thought that it meant
don't hit me.
Don't hit him or use the knife or use the gun.
Bullshit.
If we castrated you, would that solve your problem?
No.
Well then, oh my God, I don't believe it.
Don't you see the contradiction?
What would you
Do you
use
see
as
the
a weapon?
contradiction? Do you see the contradiction in that?
No, I don't.
You don't see the contradiction in the fact, if you were castrated, that would solve your problem. You said no.
I think you're threatened because you have we're fairly intelligent women sitting here.
Castration wouldn't do a thing to my mind. It would just cut my nuts off.
So it's not sexual.
Your mind is your biggest sex organ that you have on your body. That's where it all originates.
Excuse me, buddy, but your weapon was not your mind.
I gotta tell you, the men that we're with have to be so careful. Because it's one wrong move. One twist of the hair.
I've missed out on friendships.
We're gone.
Are you hearing this, Jim?
Yes.
You need to think about that. What about Dwayne?
What did you do?
I was down at a bar.
Here. Thank you.
I was down at a bar, and I was with somebody I knew, and he introduced me to this woman. And this woman, I knew her daughters, and she told me that she got in a fight with her daughter, and she wasn't going home that night. So I knew that I knew that she wasn't going to be there, and I started thinking about going in and peeking in her window, and if I got a chance to rape her. And so I went home and I got a 10-speed to go to her house, and I got a piece of twine and a ski mask and a pocket knife. I walked into her room and I made sure that I had the rope and the knife in my hand and the ski mask over my face, and I crawled up on top of her and pinned her arms down and put
Did she wake up?
Yes. Put my hand over her mouth at the same time that I crawled
What'd you see
on
in
her
her face?
It was dark. I
think you might have seen it.
Surprised. I think she was surprised at what was, who this was. She asked who it was. She thought it was her boyfriend. And I told her not to scream, that I wouldn't hurt her.
What are you leaving out? Why are you crying?
Because I saw her crying. I started thinking about her being my victim.
I hope it causes you nightmares, this face. Because I gotta tell you something. It's what we all have a lot of nights.
Every time the floor
What are you
creaks,
talking about nights? It's days. It's when you go out with somebody.
He
It's
said
in a parking
to
lot, it's
me,
any place.
after he did it, he said to me, "Oh, Jesus, you didn't want that, did you?"
What else?
Mine told me I enjoyed it. To relax and enjoy it. Mine told me he was going to kill me.
Oh, God, so did mine. And he told me how he was going to do it.
I can't believe
And he called me so many filthy
He took a jacket and put it over my face and tried to suffocate me. And you want to know what? The son of a bitch is on the street.
Yes, mine is too. And when he said to me, "Oh, I guess you didn't want that," I'm sitting there screaming and crying while he's doing it. And he's calling me names and telling me he's going to kill me. And he's sick-minded thinking I want this. You think they wanted it? You all know they didn't. You all know they didn't want it.
I know that.
And that was part of the trip. That was part of that exhilaration. Was knowing you were taking something that they didn't want to give you. And you were killing. With your dick, you were killing. You were committing murder. And that's the way I feel. Dead. And then when you think that you can love a man again and you try to have a relationship and this comes up, this fear and what we went through with me, it always cuts him away. I don't even know. I'll be glad when I can have a relationship with a man again. But I don't know if I can.
I still love having a man's arms around me and a man holding me and loving me and making love to me. And that's something, sorry guys, you didn't get it.
Due to the subject matter of this emotionally charged special program on rape, we must caution you there is sexually explicit and profane language.
The following day, 5 victims and rapists met for the second session. This victim was raped by a man she thought to be her friend. A simple evening out turned into a nightmare as he began to beat, choke, and smother her. A neighbor offered to drive this victim to a doctor's appointment when her car failed to start. He waited in the parking lot for her to return, but he made a detour on the way home. A deserted road was an ideal place to sexually assault her. He held her with a knife at her throat and told her she deserved to be beaten and raped. This survivor was accosted by 7 men and 2 women as she walked home. It was broad daylight when they dragged her into their car and took her to a park where the women held her as the men raped and sodomized her repeatedly. The women told her to relax as they mopped her brow. It was 3 a.m. when this victim heard a noise at her front door. She became so frightened she piled laundry on her young son to hide him from danger. Her attacker smashed his way through the door of her house and into the bedroom, where he accosted, beat, and raped her. Weeks later, she was told by the police her attacker had stalked her for months. This woman was asleep in her own home when an attacker half her age broke into her room and brutally raped and assaulted her. Now she and her daughters live in constant fear of another attack.
What about your mother? Tell us about your mother.
She was sleeping in my room, and I was fantasizing about having sex with her.
With your mother?
With my mother.
How long has this been going on?
Oh, about 10 years.
10 years you were thinking about having sex with your mother?
Yep.
Or forcing her to have sex?
Not at first, no.
But in the end, was it forced?
Yes.
To have power over your mother?
Yes.
Tell me some more.
And I walked into the bedroom with a knife in my hand, and my mom was sleeping on top of the bed with just her bra and panties on, and I cut her bra and panties off and started fondling her, and she woke up and started struggling and said that no son of hers was going to sleep with her. And I got very upset, and I stabbed her 3 times, and she died.
You got very upset?
Yeah.
That's how you describe it, very upset.
I went into a rage.
What do you think about a man who would do this?
Did you ever get in trouble when you were a kid for doing something?
I was an abused child when I was a kid.
Oh, so what?
I was too. I was raped when I was 16. I think that makes me abused too, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, goddammit, where do you get off? Don't give me that shit. Anything but that.
I did it because I didn't care. I did it because I wanted to. I did it because I was trying to strike back at everybody.
Because you were abused, right?
Partially, yeah.
Oh. What did I do?
Because you wanted to.
And because
Being
I
abused.
wanted to.
What did I do?
I wanted to.
Abused?
Say that. I wanted to.
I wanted to.
That's the bottom line, Richard. You wanted to. Say it.
I wanted to.
Then you still do, don't you?
I still have that, yeah. I'm married. I got a son. He's 4 years old. And I want to have him to have some kind of life.
You are married?
Yes, I'm married.
And you have a child.
And I have a child.
And this is the example you're setting for your child. You had no forethought when you had that child that this is the way it was going to be brought up. His dad's in prison. A boy? Is it a boy?
It's a boy.
Oh, hasn't he got a great deal to look forward to? A dad as a prisoner.
How can you feel for them? How can you love them? How can you care about them?
I do love them. I do care about them.
Bullshit.
You're lying.
You don't feel for your mother. You don't feel for your other victims. You care about what you feel. You're lucky you have a wife that loves you and that sticks by you through all you put her through.
I treated her like shit.
That's right, you did.
What'd you do?
I lied to her, I stole money from her, I cheated on her, and I raped other women.
You tell me you care about her? That
you
makes
love
no
her.
sense at all.
I'm damn sure glad you don't care about her.
She makes her my victim.
What does it make your son?
It makes him my victim.
Do you want your son to be just like you? Do you want your son to be like you?
No.
Then when in the hell are you going to do something about it, buddy?
I'm trying to.
I know you ladies here, you're asking why we committed the crimes we did, and I can understand that. It's a really reasonable question. I can't, there's no reason, I can't offer an excuse to you.
What'd you do to him?
I raped them.
Well, yeah, but what did you do to him? I mean, I know that you...
I didn't have any weapons. I snuck in their house. I snuck in their house in the middle of the night and woke them up, and I had control.
How did you wake them up?
Just by shaking them, or they was already awake when I came into the house.
And what did you say to them?
Told them that I was there and I wanted to fuck them.
Could you look at the children and the husbands that want to just kill you?
How do you feel about that? What does that make you think?
I don't feel good at all about what I've done. And as far as I'm concerned, I deserve to die for what I did.
How many lives have you destroyed? How many?
Countless.
Countless isn't enough. That doesn't tell me anything. How many victims did you have?
I had 4 victims.
And how many of those women had boyfriends? How many had husbands? How many had family members, just like these women had?
I'm sure they all had friends and relatives that were affected by my crimes.
So what does it matter now that you're going to be making those changes
It doesn't matter anything to them, I'm sure. I'm sure they'd just as soon see me dead, too.
You might as well have killed us, too.
I know.
Huh? You don't know. You haven't been there.
What is it like?
A minute ago.
Tell him what it's like. He doesn't understand it. He hasn't got a clue in the world.
The best thing I can say, as far as I won't hurt you, okay, I sucked in for that the first time because I figured, okay, I will get out of this alive. But believe me, if it happens again, I don't give a damn what he does to me. He's not going to get me. He's not going to keep me longer than 2 minutes.
I may die, but I'm not going to go through that again.
You have it's time for Bill to get his eyes out of his lap and start looking at people. You haven't looked at anybody since you've been in here.
Why should he? That's his capsule, isn't it?
As far as I'm concerned, they all know what we went through.
So get your eyes in the air. You start looking at people here.
With Bill, you said one. I find that real hard to believe.
So do I. Nobody.
I find that real
one that you were charged with?
One victim.
Period. In your whole life.
What do you mean by one adult victim?
At the age of...
Look at us.
At the age of...
You're not
12.
looking at anybody. All you do is stare off in space.
Okay, at the age of 12, and...
There, you're doing it again.
Look at face reality. And right here, there's 5 of us. It's reality. Look at me. Look at me.
That's the least you can do.
You cop out. You really have to be a creep if you think you can sit there and not digest this.
You sure never held their head down the night it happened, did
No, you don't, do you?
I went strutting around.
No, I didn't.
What do you think, Bill? What's going on with you now? You're not looking at anybody again. You're not looking at me, and I'm talking to you. These women want to know what you've done. They want to understand it so they can put it in perspective of what they've gone through.
Okay, I went out. I was angry at everybody, at the women in particular, women period.
Look at us and tell us how angry you are.
I felt women hated me, so I hated women. I felt women weren't coming to me. And that since that wasn't happening, I didn't like women, and that I was going to pay them back. I left where I was working, went out, and drove around and went into town. Just started going into town. First woman I saw was walking along the road, a woman.
Tell me exactly what you saw.
What I saw was an object, a person that I was angry at, that I didn't like.
What she looked like?
Thought she was a whore. I thought she was a slut.
Why'd you think that?
Let me tell.
Did that just made it more convenient to rape her?
She was wearing a tank top.
And that makes it right?
In that mind state, yes, it was. And I told her I'd kill her if she tried to get away.
How'd you say it?
Loud.
How?
Screamed.
What'd you say?
I said I'd kill you if you fucking run away.
Is that how you said it?
Yes.
That's not very loud. I bet
fucking kill you if I fucking run away, bitch.
Do you feel strong at that time?
I felt real strong at that time.
How powerful?
A lot of power.
What kind of control?
A lot of control.
What did it do for you? One man said he felt like he was God. What did it feel like to you?
Built my self-image up. I was
that
over
built
women.
up your
How did it do
self-image?
that?
Because I raped her.
There's a scar here that never leaves. The hurt's gone. And not only for us, but for our families. I had 2 daughters, 14 and 15, that happened to be away from the home that night. Do you know that youngest daughter is 23 years old now? And when I'm not at home at night, she has butcher knives stuck down on the Davenport. It's ruined her life. You think you've just raped one person? You've raped mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and children.
Why are you here?
I saw a girl walking along the road. I pulled over, asked if she wanted to ride home, and I gave her a ride home, wanted to get a kiss from her. She gave me a kiss, and I wanted more, and I felt like I was being rejected when she wouldn't give me what I wanted.
Because someone wouldn't give you a kiss.
What made you think you even had a right to have a kiss?
Yeah.
You gave her a ride?
Just because you give somebody a ride that gives you license to kill?
No.
Or rape?
No.
Well, then.
It was what I wanted. I wasn't looking at somebody else. I wasn't looking at them as a person. I wanted to fuck her. That's all I wanted, is I wanted to fuck her. She didn't want it, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it. I just wanted to hurt her. I wanted to hurt her and hurt her. And I choked her. And I choked her till she was unconscious. And I pushed her out of the car. And I reached into the glove compartment, dug through the glove compartment, and I found a knife, and I stabbed her. I stabbed her in the back as she was laying out on the ground. I just stabbed her. I was pissed off, and I wanted to hurt her just that one more time. I asked her if she was all right, and it was irrational. I knew I was hurting her. I just wanted to hurt her some more.
What was she saying?
She wasn't saying anything that I knew of. She was unconscious. I choked her till she was unconscious.
What did she say before that?
She just screamed, "No, don't do that."
What did that sound like? How loud was she screaming?
She was screaming as loud as she could.
And there was no one else around?
There was no one around. I was in an area that no one could hear it.
Could you see how hard you were squeezing her neck?
I was squeezing tight. I was squeezing off all her breath.
And what happened? She passed out. Did you feel good?
Out. No, I felt scared. I felt terrified. I didn't feel half the terror she might have felt because I was the one that was doing it to her. I was afraid I was going to get caught. I was afraid I was afraid that I might kill her. And I drove off.
You left her there bleeding.
And I left her there bleeding.
And you thought she might be dead.
And I didn't know if she was dying or she wasn't dying.
And it didn't make a damn either,
did I didn't care. And I drove to a road, and then I had a small little bit of scared. Was I going to kill her? Was she all right? I didn't know. And I threw her clothes out in the middle of the busy road, the intersection, deep down hoping that maybe a cop would drive by, maybe someone would drive down that road.
If you really wanted to help her, you could have stopped and made a telephone call, not throw her clothes in the middle of the intersection.
I know. I was still looking for me. I was still looking for me. And I drove home.
And then what'd you do?
I took some Valium. I was scared. I tried talking to my mom a little bit.
About what?
About that I saw a car wreck and that's why I needed Valium. That's why I was so scared. I couldn't tell her.
You wimp. I was that same victim, only I didn't lay in the bushes. I was raising a son by myself. And one of you broke into my house in the middle of the night. I didn't ask for it. I never saw you before. I tried everything. I heard noises, and I thought, no, it's my imagination, it can't be. But I piled laundry on my son. And the front door, it was a solid door, flew open. And that's about it. All I remember is having blood all over the place. I thought I did everything. I'd walked the first day after 4 months from having surgery. And you just kept beating on me. You kept saying, it's all right, it's all right. Well, it's not all right. I kept fighting anyway, because I'm a winner and I'm a fighter and I don't stop. And when I knew that I was dying, I knew it was over. I asked him to please not to kill me because I had a son to raise. And he had no one. And then you cried. You stopped. Said, please call the police. Of course, you have your hand on my throat and I can hardly talk. I can't move. I can't see. So I try to move and it starts all over again. I don't know when it stopped. Because I wasn't there. I was half unconscious, half everywhere. I don't know. You lose pain, you lose everything. And then you were gone, or he was gone. I still have a son. He knows even though he doesn't know. It's hard to clean up blood off wallpaper and furniture fast, believe me.
Why are you crying?
I think for Donna, I don't know how you felt. I can't imagine.
You still don't.
I don't. I can't imagine.
Oh, bullshit.
It's bullshit.
How can you keep doing it then? You've had multiple rapes, right? How many?
3.
And how many attempts?
So if I was your third victim and I stood there with a gun and I said, I'm going to blow your goddamn head off, you'd say, I don't blame you. Right? Is that what you would say to me?
What did you do during that time?
None of my victims had any weapons. Women were flesh to me, meat. That's all they was, is meat and flesh. I didn't give a shit about them. What I did, I chose to do. No one put a gun to my head and said, Ed, go out and rape this woman.
And why did you do it?
because I wanted control and I wanted power, and I know it may sound really weird to you. That's exactly what I wanted.
I don't think it sounds very weird.
The part that sounds weird is how that could give you power.
Why didn't you get
it's not a challenge. How easy is it to go take some innocent little victim and rape her? That's no challenge. How does that give you power?
By doing the thing that I knew they would hate the most.
Okay.
By taking something from them that they'd probably never get back again. It wasn't sexual for me.
You knew that? And you
I knew that. It wasn't sexual. I couldn't even keep a heart on. I forced them to go down on me. I want to take all the anger and the freaking frustrations that I had toward women, men, and why I didn't molest men is because I am a goddamn wimp.
Why don't all of you on this floor then ask the state to tape your brain and find out what is wrong?
How can you get, all you get is a straight line.
There's not a fucking bit of empathy between all of us. I have a hard time feeling empathy. I didn't feel empathy for my victim. I don't know how in the fuck to feel empathy. I don't know what to do about it. I sit here and I look at you people.
And you see nothing.
And I'm having a hard time getting in touch with how you guys are feeling. I was molested as a kid. My brothers, after that, avoided me completely. After that, I was a moron of the family.
How were you treated?
And after that, I choose to stay away from everybday else. And I choose...
The family. What's the moron of the family?
The moron of the family, the person, people to stay away from. Stay away from. You stay away from. And they don't do things with. They don't count them as
So you made the choice.
They didn't do that to you.
You made the choice
yourself. I feel bad for any child that's been molested, but anybody walking down the street, anybody that lives, sees their choices.
And you have those choices from the time you're little kids, little tiny kids, little ones, before they even walk.
I mean,
you had that choice, Bill.
That's
you made
too
that
bad
choice.
that happened, but you still had choices.
You're like a goddamn bump. What's this, Bill?
You made that choice, Bill.
Bill, how do you
And you made that choice when you committed your rapes. Didn't you? Look at me. You're doing it again. What do you see down there?
I don't want to fucking get angry, Richard.
Well, get angry.
I have the right to get fucking angry in here.
Get angry.
I don't think
Take responsibility. Realize you're a victim.
At yourself. Not
but
at
I
me.
get angry at you people, not my fucking self.
Do it.
The reason you're here, Bill, is because of you, not because of me.
I know
not
I
because
fucking
of
been
him.
out there and fucking hurt him, you asshole.
That's right. You made that choice.
I know I fucking made that choice, goddammit.
So tell me, how good did it feel?
It felt fucking good when I was out there, Richard. You think I fucking want to went out there and hurt my fucking mother, you asshole? Fucking A, I don't want to fucking hurt no fucking one.
Then, but you did it.
I fucking know I did it.
Bill, sit down.
You fucking think I know I fucking did it.
It was
I was fucked up. I was fucked up. My thinking was fucked up. I'm fucked up now. I've always been fucked up and I want to fucking change it.
Then
but you fucking people are... God damn, I don't want to fucking blame you. I don't want to fucking blame you. It's my fucking fault. I went out and raped. I fucking built up a fucking hurt. I fucking hate women. You know something? I was out there. I fucking hated every motherfucking woman I walked up to. You know how that felt in me? You know why? Because I thought they were gonna fucking reject me. And I hated myself for that. I fucking hated myself for that.
You still feel the same thing.
I feel the same thing. I'm scared of women. I am scared totally of women. I have a hard time even meeting a woman, talking to a woman, a stranger, anybody I know. I have a hard time talking to.
This is what you did. This is the kind of life you've given yourself, Bill.
But you take other people down with you. Take yourself down alone.
That's for
No, don't grab your jeans.
Look at you guys. Now, this is a man you live with.
This is a man you spend 24 hours a day with, and he is obviously hurting, and look at you.
You sat there like stones. Anybody touch Bill? Anyone say, Bill, I can understand what you're doing because I'm like that? I do the same kinds of things. I hate women too. No, I got four.
Hey, I understand what he's going through. I'm not going to touch him because he's in touch with a lot of goddamn feelings. So am I.
What are you in touch with?
I look at these women, I look at my goddamn victims. That's what I look at.
You're in touch with you. I'm watching you. Everything's coming back.
I don't care. I look at them, every one of you, my victims.
But you said you didn't know who they were and it made no difference.
I know who my victims are. I look at you. You're my victims.
Oh, no, we're not, Buster. What do you feel about this? Anything?
I don't feel a thing.
You know, we're not here to write a book. We're not here for advertising. We're not here because someone is paying us. We're here because we don't want any more of this kind of scum out on the streets. Not for our children, not for us, not for our sisters, our grandchildren. We don't want it.
It ain't going to be.
I have fought for almost 9 years for changing the laws, and I'll keep fighting until the last breath I take. You think about concern. You think about sorrow. You think about pity. And you think about sympathy. Because I have none of it for you. What I have is for these victims and the dead victims. And all I got to say is, God's going to have to forgive you because I can't. I can't. No way. The last breath I take, I'll probably end up in hell because I can't forgive you.
The women in tonight's program were obviously hurt. The crime they were subjected to is the result of anger, power, and aggression, the ultimate control of another person's life. Rape results in a victim being thrown into crisis, a traumatic experience she's not prepared for.
We found that the best way to deal with the anger of the rapist is to put them into intensive therapy. My name is Robert Freeman Longo. I'm the director of the sex offender unit at Oregon State Hospital. We have found that the rapist is emotionally insulated. He doesn't understand feelings, he avoids feelings, he suppresses feelings. And therefore, through intensive therapy and getting them angry first, we can then move into the other kinds of emotions that need to be worked with in order to help them become basically human beings again. They view the victim as not a human being, but an object upon which they vent their frustrations and their angers.
The encounter session is but a small part of an intensive therapy program currently being conducted by the sex offender unit in the correctional treatment program of the Oregon State Hospital.
But the program also has an important advantage to the survivor of a rape attack.
We should know we were both victims, and we, along with 8 other women, volunteered to partake in the confrontation that you have just witnessed.
I wish you'd tell me something. Weren't you frightened?
Yes, I think frightened is a good word, but I also think that Tess and I, along with the other women that went in there, found a great deal of strength and power walking into the facility.
It was a chance for us to be the intimidator instead of being intimidated, to confront the kind of men who had raped us. I think that everyone felt powerful being able to do that, being able to say, okay, now you're going to listen to us. You're going to hear what we have to say.
From a therapist standpoint, we find that the encounters are helpful for both the offender as well as the women who come up there that have been victimized. It gives the victim a sense that she can regain this power back, and so many women who have been raped have felt that I've always still given this person some power. It may be 10 years after my rape, but I've felt that he still had control over me in some way, shape, or form. And through these encounters, they're able to regain that sense of being in control of their lives completely and totally and feel healthier as a result.
Would it have been a different kind of feeling had the men you were confronting been the men who had raped you?
It would have been for me. Yeah. I really don't know if I could have done that.
There was a time, I must say, that I did want to talk with the convicted, the kid in my case, because I felt sorry for him. And I did. I mean, it was very soon after, and I really wanted to sit down and talk with him and try and get him into a therapy program, which was unrealistic. At this point, I don't think, in fact, I did have an opportunity to face him again, and I chose not to do that. I think at this point there was no purpose, and it would have been unhealthy for me.
Then you think that these kind of therapy sessions do make the rapist more responsible for his crime?
That's one of the goals of our program, is to help build responsibility and be accountability for their behaviors. We don't offer excuses like they were abused or had rough childhoods. I mean, the final decision to commit a behavior was that person's choice. But they've been in trouble in their lives, they've had problems, and through the therapy, they learn to begin to relate as human beings, to understand human feelings. And so through these kinds of confrontations, they're even better able to understand that there is a trauma to the victim, because they don't see the victim afterwards. They have no idea what that person goes through.
Even in the confrontation, these men had no idea how they affected our lives. They really had no idea, not just my life or your life, but my family, your family, our friends. It affects everyone around you.
How has the confrontation helped both of you?
I think it has satisfied a need in me to see a rapist for the kind of person that he really is.
So that you don't...
I'm not so afraid of them anymore, because I think they're so weak. I think there's no character, they're wimps, they're not worth all that anxiety.
So you can release some of that from yourself, because you've seen it in person. You can release it and let it go more now.
I think, too, it's been a sense for me of that it was nothing personal. It was I was not a person that they were out to get me personally, and that was a major step for me, because two things happened. I took it personally that it was my number was up, or it was my time, or I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and feeling guilty about not being more aware. And the fact of the matter is, there was nothing I could have done.
Rob, let me ask you, how many programs like this are going on around the country?
Well, in terms of programs that treat sex offenders, there's probably, just really a handful in the country, maybe 15 or 20 states that actually have intensive therapy programs designed to treat the offender. But we're seeing an increase in this kind of thing. We're seeing more and more community-based programs, more private programs, and more states who have come to us on the programs looking to develop them.
Well, what can be done in the states that don't have this kind of program now? What can they do to get this kind of program?
I think people can write their legislators. They could work towards getting laws that require treatment such as our state has, recognizing sex offenders are dangerous. If they need consultation, they could contact us or other programs so we can help them begin to set up their programs, which we have done with several states.
Could each of you separately tell me, what do you want to happen as a result of this program?
I want awareness. I want people to look at this and see that it really does happen, because that's the only way that legislators, lobbyists, whoever will be effective, is if they really do see that rape happens. It's just important that they do.
Actually, it's a re-education of a whole society. It's a re-education in the different people that I've spoken with over the past few years. There's really a lack of education as to what rape is, who rapists are, why they rape. It's not an act of sex, it's an act of violence. It's just been in the past few years that we're, as a society, really starting to recognize that, and more rapes are being reported. But basically, I feel the same way as what you said. If one person learns from our doing the confrontation or from this program, then it, in a sense, justifies what happens to me. If I can say to you, learn from my experience and protect yourself so that it doesn't happen to you, then it makes it worth it for me. In a sense, to make people understand, and women understand, that you're not alone, and that there are those of us who have, in a sense, made it through, and we're there to help you, and to not be afraid to call people.
And you're strong and wonderful and brave, too, I must say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Meanwhile, the number of rapes continues to increase. In the United States, a rape is reported approximately once every 7 minutes. How much do you really know about rape? take a moment to test yourself on these questions. Why should I report the crime to the police? Why is medical attention necessary even if I was not physically beaten? What if I know the person who raped me? If I press charges, will my past sexual history be exposed? How can I decrease my chances of being raped? And what can those nearest to me do to help? If you're uncertain of the answers to these questions, we suggest you write for this free booklet offered by the National Center for the Prevention of Rape entitled How to Protect Yourself Against Sexual Assault. They will also refer you to a rape crisis center in your area. Write to NCPCR, Park Lawn Building, Room 6C-12, 5600 Fishers Lane, Rockville, Maryland, 20857. Rape is an act of violence. It's hard to believe that in this great nation of ours, not one day passes without a woman somewhere crying for help because she's been raped. For every case of rape, there's a family of loved ones who also become part of the trauma. This must stop.
Tonight's special presentation has been brought to you in part by True Value as a public service.